Welcome, everybody. You've selected a session that focuses on video-based feedback that I hope will give you some tips and tricks for making your students and you feel more connected to each other. So I put into the description, providing feedback in a really person-focused way. And so that's what I'm going to try to focus on during today's session. This is being recorded. You probably already got that notification. And that is because we're going to be adding this to the big group of recordings that people that didn't tune in live can access later. So if you do ask a question verbally, just know that that would be a part of the recording. You're welcome to put your questions or comments in the chat if you don't want to unmute yourself. We're going to look at various free tools that you can access that really focus on screen recording and the option of video-based feedback. So the one that I use the most and the one that I recommend the most is Screencastify. I'll put a link to this one in the chat for those of you who haven't heard of it yet. It's a free tool that automatically installs into your Google Chrome browser, should you be using Chrome. You'll see that I have it installed, which is why I have this gray button instead of a blue button that allows me to add it as an extension. Just a side note, it has to be in the full version of Chrome, not the mobile one. So you couldn't use this on a tablet or on a phone, but you could use this on a Chromebook, a desktop, a laptop, Mac or PC, it doesn't matter. So right now, if you don't have it, I would recommend that you go to that Screencastify website and walk through the installation process. Get started by clicking the button down here or in the top right corner. The other tools that do similar things, and your district may prefer that you use one of these instead, would be Screencast-O-Matic. I'll post that one in the chat for you as well. So Screencast-O-Matic does the exact same type of thing as Screencastify does, except Screencastify is my preferred system because it auto integrates with Google Drive, which many teachers have access to. A third option would be the Loom tool. So Loom is also free, also a browser-based extension, but Loom is slightly different in that it also has a downloadable version, and that provides a little bit more power than the one that is integrated with your browser. And Loom automatically will provide you with enhanced non-time limited access to recordings if you are a teacher. So Screencastify cuts you out at 5 minutes if you don't pay for the enhanced version. Whereas if you sign up for Loom with the teacher account, you get access to their full-fledged, could record up to 60 minutes if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it because your kids aren't going to watch a 60-minute video, but you get the idea. The fourth on this list is an app that you could potentially install on iPads or Android tablets or phones, or it also would work on a Chromebook or a desktop or a PC, and that's Flipgrid. Again, check with your school district whether this is something that is acceptable to use or not. But I'm actually going to start out with demoing this one because I think it really gets at the core of what I wanted to share today, which is how to still have those human relationships with your students and have your students feel like they know you as a person as well. So I'm going to transition here to an account that is actually my daughter's. She was in first grade when the governor closed schools last March, and she attends a Spanish immersion program in the Spokane Public Schools. So on March 26, 2020, her teachers posted this to Flipgrid, and it is, "Where will you go? ¿A dónde vas?" And then there's a prompt about the reading of "Off We Go to Mexico." And specifically, the teachers asked to research a place you would love to visit with your family, upload a video showing where you would go and what you learned about that place. So it's not just video feedback that I'm about to demo, it's also the whole process. So rather than having students turn in some sort of report or like essay or slide deck, the teachers were providing the option of kids just uploading themselves, talking directly to their camera, and that was evidence of their learning. So first, I'm going to show you what that experience was like, and then we'll focus specifically on the feedback portion of that. So the prompt was, research a place you would like to visit with your family and upload a video showing where you would go and what you learned. The teacher, in this case, the English-speaking teacher, demoed exactly what she wanted her students to do. So first, I'll play back this recording. We'll watch just a portion of it.
Hola, clase. So I was thinking about a place that I would love to visit, and I love to travel, so there's lots of places that I really want to go to. But one of the places that I have just been dying to go visit is Australia. So I did a little research on a place called Culturegrams to learn some more about Australia.
So I love this in that she is speaking directly to her students. The kids know who she is. They hear her voice, they see her eyes, they see her expressions, and she's demoing, she's providing an exemplar of what she's expecting her kids to do. So how long did this take? She recorded herself for 1 minute and 29 seconds. And think how much time she probably would have spent had she tried to type out all of her instructions to students. First do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. She may have spent 60 minutes, 120 minutes trying to create some sort of printed document. In this case, she spent 90 seconds or so recording exactly what she wanted her students to do in a way that they could see what her expectations were. Now, because I don't have permissions from all of these students or their parents to show their work, I'll just hone in on my own daughters. So this is my daughter. It's kind of quiet, so it'll be a little bit hard to hear exactly what she says, but this is what she turns in, and then we'll focus specifically on the teacher feedback aspect of this.
I want to go to Spain because I can speak new Spanish and there's bullfighting. And every year that somebody turns old, they pinch your ears how old you are. And instead of a tooth fairy, there's tooth rats.
Okay, so a 20-second video, 6-year-old girl interested in bullfighting was news to me. So she learned something and I was surprised by that. So all of that is the way that this process can work. But what you've signed on for is to focus on the feedback aspect. So here's what I want to point out. The way that my daughter's teachers provided feedback to that particular piece of work was so encouraging to see as a parent, because right here, my daughter got a chance to see and hear a person that she cared about talking specifically about her work. So this is the Spanish speaking teacher. And if you're not fluent in Spanish, this won't make sense to you. But just notice, like, the teacher's looking directly at the camera. She has a smile. She's commenting explicitly on what my daughter said and created. So I'll just play back a portion of this.
Hola Alice, yo he ido a España y es súper divertido. Debes de ir si puedes con tu familia. Cuando estaba en España, yo fui y vi a los toros. Era muy diferente, muy divertido y muy interesante.
Okay, so personalized feedback on my daughter's work, and then the English-speaking teacher does the exact same thing.
Hola, Alice. I also have always wanted to go to Spain. My favorite soccer.
So you get the idea. Think in regular life, my daughter may have created a picture or a paragraph or a slide deck or something else about visiting Spain. And then her teacher may have taken that home with her and gotten out a pen and marked it up and gave suggestions or whatever. And that process may have taken a few minutes. But what we have instead is a 10-second recording that made my daughter feel special as a person. And I don't care whether you're 6 years old or 16 years old. If you're a student who is getting a video of your teacher talking directly to you about the work that you did, it makes you feel special and it makes you feel like they care about you as a person. And that is what I think so many of our students have really been craving during our entire hybrid or remote only learning life. Let me switch back to my demo system and I'll share with you how you can make that happen. So hopefully by now you've installed Screencastify, and the way that this works is you have a new icon up in your Chrome browser that you can click that allows you to record various things. So there's 3 options. You can record the browser tab, which would be just the currently active tab within your Chrome system. You can record your entire desktop, and that tends to work best if you're going to demo, like, here's students is where you go in and you change your system settings on Microsoft Windows or on Mac OS or on something else. So that would literally record the entire desktop, including the start menu and all the rest. Or if you want to replicate what you just saw, you would simply record your webcam only. And then it's as though you as the teacher are speaking directly to your students, providing them a prompt or giving feedback or doing whatever it is that you care about providing them some sort of digital interaction with. One of the frustrations about using Zoom for live training like this is that Zoom as a program lays claim to my webcam right now. So if I try to do a webcam recording right now, I'm going to get an error message and it's actually going to cause more problems than it's worth. So you'll just have to imagine that I'm choosing to record my webcam and then clicking the record button. But the truth is I have to instead choose one of these other options. So sorry, but that's just the way it goes. I'll click record. Imagine that the screen is filled with my face and you're seeing my emotion and hearing all of it and all the rest. So here we go, record. Get a 3, 2, 1 countdown. Students, welcome to another week of school. This week, we're going to be focusing specifically on parts of the cell. I love this because the cell is the foundation of all life on the planet. And in order to understand how we fit into this planet, we have to understand how cells make us and everything alive that surrounds us. So I was a former biology teacher, and so maybe that's something that I would have shared with my biology students. I click the N button down at the bottom, and Screencastify does its magic, which is it automatically takes what I've recorded and it sticks it into my Google Drive for me. And then it gives me this big blue button in the top right corner to copy that shareable link. So imagine that right now, because I wasn't live on a Zoom with you, it was literally recording my face and all of the rest. It did record my voice. So if I go back to the start and I unmute school, this week we're going to be focusing specifically on parts of the cell. So it would be my face, my voice, all the rest. So how would I get this to kids as some sort of prompt or like engaging activity for them? I would click copy shareable link, and automatically Google creates and copies a link that I could use wherever I need to. So if I, for example, am going to post this to my students at the start of the week, here's why we'll be studying cell this week. I go into my Google Classroom and I have 2 ways that I could provide this to my students. I could paste the link right here in the text of my update. So that would be one option. Another, if I want to have it look slightly different, would be to add that link underneath. This one will say Screencastify, which is kind of weird. If you want it to do something other than that, you would have to go in and provide some sort of unique name instead. So I would definitely, if I were you, get in the habit of renaming each of these. So in this case, we might call it all about the cell. Screencastify will automatically rename the file with that. And when I copy the shareable link, this time when I go into my Google Classroom and I add that new link, it's going to have the actual title that I gave, which is a more engaging user experience. So here's why we'll be studying the cell this week. And then it's a video of me talking directly to my students. And as soon as I click post, my students would get their push notifications on their mobile devices or an email if they don't have that, that says that I, as their teacher, have posted something new. And my kids would now be able to go in and watch that video. Depending on the settings that I've enabled within my LMS, maybe like in Google Classroom, if you allow kids to comment on things that you post, they could then record their own videos if you gave them a prompt in the initial. And if you do it in this format, all of those students' classmates would be able to see and hear their classmates' work. So it becomes a much more social experience than just students turning something into exclusively you as the teacher. I do recognize many teachers are uncomfortable with opening up their feed to allow student posting. So let's say you wanted to go with the traditional option. You could go into classwork, you could create a new assignment, all about the cell. Maybe I have my introductory video where I talk about why we need to learn about the cell. And then I might also add a Google Drive file or an uploaded file about how my students are going to learn about one particular organelle. So some kids might choose to learn about the nucleus, and others learn about the cytoplasm, and others learn about the cell membrane or whatever. My kids would literally record themselves talking about what they've learned, just like my daughter did about learning about Spain, and they would turn in that video of themselves. And that would be what I would then be able to access. So what would that look like on the student end? They would, let's imagine that the kid pulls up a picture of a cell. So I'll go with mitochondria. So the student finds an image. And maybe then they click Screencastify and they either record that image and themselves talking about it if they feel a little bit uncomfortable about having their entire face fill the frame, or if they feel comfortable with it because they trust you as a person, they would choose webcam only. And they literally just talk to you as though you were there face to face with them. And they record themselves talking for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds about a few facts they learned about mitochondria. And then ultimately they would turn that into you. So same story as before, they would get a unique shareable link. And in the Google Classroom world, they would click that link. They would copy that link and paste it and then click the turn in button. And now I would see that 5 students have turned in their videos, 10 students, 15 students have all turned in their videos. So that is one way that you might be able to slightly change the way that you do school. And then of course, because your students are turning in their work to you, you would have the ability to open up their work on your screen and then provide your own video-based feedback to them. So let's take a look at what that might look and feel like. I'll switch gears. I know not everybody uses Google Classroom. So here's Schoology. This was a course that I taught back in spring 2020 after the governor ordered schools to be closed. This was for teachers around using digital tools. So here in the materials section, what you'll see is that I have a particular assignment that my students turn in. In this case, it was assignment number 2. And so just like in Google Classroom where your kids turn things in, it all goes into one consolidated place. We're seeing the same thing over here. So here are all the students in my class who turned something into me. And so the way that I could provide video-based feedback to my students would be to click on a particular student. And just like in Google Classroom or any other LMS, the student work is going to appear here for me. So traditionally, the way that this would work would be that I, as the teacher, go in and I type a comment. And I might say, Sarah, I really like that you did X, but I hope that you'll change Y. So before we used all these digital tools, Sarah would have printed this out. And then I would have taken that home with me over the weekend or whatever. I get out my red pen and I mark it up. And that takes me, 2, 3, 4 minutes to mark up a paragraph. In the world of video-based feedback, I could just record myself talking for 30 seconds about this. And I am providing this in a way that Sarah feels connected to me as her teacher, not just like marks on a sheet of paper, but like me as an individual speaking directly to her as an individual. So what would that look and feel like? I'd have Sarah's work here on my screen. I'd click the Screencastify tool. I would be recording what's going on in my browser tab. And again, I think it is just vitally important that you do embed your webcam. It won't work for me right now because Zoom has claim over my webcam. But what this does is it sticks a little thumbnail video of you in the corner of the screen so that your students, as they're seeing you talk about their work, they can see you as a person talking about their work and feel like you as a person are talking directly to them. So I always do recommend embedding the webcam, although I can't do it this exact moment. So now I would click record. I get the 3, 2, 1 countdown. Sarah, thanks for turning this one in. I've read through your work and I have a few pieces of feedback for you. Number 1, I love how you have all of your sentences explaining one thought and then moving on to the next. You don't have run-on sentences. The sentences feel like they have logical flow from one to the other. I think that's a real strength of the work that you just turned in. One thing that I would like you to focus on is your word choice. I felt like the words that you used didn't necessarily represent you and your voice. And I'm wondering if there's a way that you could add a few words that really are like, you talking directly to the reader so that they feel like it's specific to them. Okay, so there's my feedback and I click stop. Now, Screencastify goes and it shows this. Notice my mouse is moving around just as I was moving it. So if I had wanted to call out a particular part of the work, or if I wanted to show a particular word that I was focused on, I could put my mouse right on top of it, or I could use the highlighting tools that are built into Schoology or Google Classroom or any other system. But ultimately what I would do is I would click copy shareable link. And then in my LMS, I would paste that and then click post. And Sarah now gets a push notification or an emailed notification that her teacher has provided feedback on her work. And my experience as an educator has been that students ask for feedback when you provide it in a digital way. So back when I taught science, I would spend, who knows, countless hours marking up student work or giving feedback. And I put so much time and effort into it. And then inevitably, I would find like these pieces of paper that I had spent all of my efforts on trying to make it as good as it could be and give great suggestions and advice. The kids would just crumple them up or leave them at the back of the room or whatever. And it was infuriating to me. Once I started switching to either text-based or audio or video-based feedback, my students would be so excited. Like they would literally like poke each other in the room. Hey, he just gave me feedback on my work. And then they would read it and watch it. And it's a totally different system, which you probably have experienced for yourself if you've been learning if you've been using LMS tools. I'm suggesting that what if you focus on video-based feedback to take it to the next level? So I'm not actually going to share this with Sarah right now because she would be like, oh, that's something I turned in almost a year ago now. What if we go back to the work though, and I demo one other way that you could interact with this? So I'm going to click my Screencastify tool one more time. Again, I would in real life embed the webcam, but here we go with record. This time I'm going to use a spotlight tool. This works okay when you're talking about single spaced work like this. It would work better with double spaced content, and it works even better with slide based content, but I'll show you what the tool looks like. So record, 3, 2, 1, countdown. Down here in the bottom corner, if I mouse over the cursor, there's this little icon. It's like a square with a dot in the middle of it. And when I click on it, that enables the spotlight tool. So now the screen is literally recording the movements of my mouse, spotlighting exactly what I'm talking about. So first line, if I'm talking about that, bottom line, if I'm talking about that. This works, like I said, even better on slides where you could point out like this part of the slide or this part of the slide or whatever you need to. So that's one option that exists for you within the Screencastify tool itself. The LMS that you're using may provide other options like the drawing tool where you could draw lines all over student work. All of that would also be recorded by your Screencastify system. And so when you ultimately finish the recording, you'll notice that the movement of the spotlight tool is recorded. So that's going to change on the screen in just a moment. There it goes. So the recording incorporated the spotlight tool. And then if I fast forward a little bit, you'll see the draw tool. So anything you're doing on the screen is being recorded along with your voice and hopefully your face because you're embedding the webcam into it. Same story as before, I would copy the shareable link. I'd go back to the student work. I would paste that link and click post, and it goes live for the student to see and hear. I also like this because if you have parents that want to be more engaged or involved in the work that their students are doing, you could easily copy and paste that link and put it in an email to the parent. Hey, Mrs. Jones, just want to let you know I provided some feedback on Sabrina's work, and here it is. Watch it at your convenience. Let me know if you have additional questions. So it's just a copy and paste of your recording directly to the parent so that they feel like they're a part of the system as well. Now, rather than freak out Sarah with this drawing that I just did all over her work, I'm going to go ahead and delete that and not post the link. So that is not going to be something I share. Same story in Google Classroom, right? So if students were turning in work to me, there's that private comment system. You would just be copying and pasting those shareable links into your private comments on student work, and then they would be able to click those and see and hear your digital feedback for them. Okay, I've noticed a couple of you have written some stuff into the chat. So one of them was to everybody. I'm still going to read it just in case people watch this as a recording because they won't have access to the chat. So somebody says, I've been doing voice recording feedback, which has been better than written feedback, but video is so much better. And I can't believe I have never thought about it before this time. Thank you, commenter. I agree. So I'm glad that you chose this session, and I'm glad that you shared your story. I also got a private message and it said, maybe a dumb question, but how to add the extension button at the top of my browser. No, it's not a dumb question. That is why you're here. So the person who asked that, and maybe others of you have the same question, if you go to the Screencastify website, and I'll go ahead and paste that in the chat one more time in case anybody joined late. So screencastify.com. This is where you would click the button. It's blue when you don't already have it installed. So right here where my mouse is moving, or top right corner, that's where you would click. And then Google Chrome will walk you through the installation process. So it's going to ask you 2 times, does this tool have permission to integrate with your Google browser? And you'll say yes, yes. And then the first time that you launch Screencastify, it's going to ask to integrate with your Google Drive account. So it's going to say Screencastify can create, edit, and delete recordings in your Google Drive, and you're going to click yes. And that's what provides access to this entire system, where you have all of these items automatically uploaded to your drive and shareable in a really simple and easy way. So before you get too in-depth with this, please check with your school district leadership or your tech department, because maybe even though Screencastify is out there, they would prefer that you use a tool like Loom or Screencast-O-Matic or something else. Or maybe they've even paid for the enhanced version of one of these other tools. And so you would be wise to use that system instead. My preference, like if I ran the world, would be that teachers would simply use Screencastify. But the only reason for that is because saving and sharing is just dead simple. It's the easiest option I've ever seen for this genre of tools. But anyway, do please check with your tech departments so that you and they are on the same page about these concepts. We still have 2 more minutes until our ESD specific breakout. So if you'd like to pose another question in the chat or unmute yourself, but do remember this is being recorded, so either option is available to you. Okay, in the chat, somebody just asked, can I post the link for the ESD specific breakouts? And yes, I can. So I'm going to put those in there. You'll find those at the very, very bottom of the screen. So right here, ESD 101, Yakima, Southwest. If you have no idea which ESD services your geographic area, you could do a quick Google search for Washington ESD map. And then you'll see something like this. And hopefully you can figure out where your school district is located and which particular ESD services your region. Okay, thanks everybody for joining me for this session, and enjoy the last half hour of our launch day.